Thank you so much for staying tuned with me here in the studio. He's a legal practitioner and, of course, an Islamic scholar, Al-Haji Amin Alao. Welcome to TMI. So this edition, Al-Haji.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your coming.
Yes, good morning.
And of course, I have a vibrant youth, human rights activist, a political analyst. Join me to welcome Emmanuel Aibogu. Emmanuel, welcome to TMI on this edition.
Good morning, Wilson, and very warm good morning to viewers at home.
Okay, it's all about compensation right now for my headers clash. You heard Comrade Odige over there. He said compensation for this particular set of persons, he doesn't really support it. He gave his reasons, he gave his opinions, and of course he gave his view. Last week, very precise, the VP chaired a committee to look into compensating victims of farmers' headers clash. Al-Haji Alao, what do you feel about this?
Thank you very much. I think I would differ from the view of the other discussant, even though the whole idea happens not to be very tidy, in the sense that when we get to this stage, how did you get to this stage? In 1914, the Southern and Northern Protectorates were amalgamated, and then coincidentally, 100 years after, 2014, we had the Constitutional Conference, and then we are now in 2021. We have been hearing of Vision 2020. I would have expected that by now we'll be in paradise or in heaven. But the year following 2020, Vision 2020, we never anticipated COVID-19 anyway. And now we are now in 2021. And it appears the whole country is being held hostage, either by the bandits, the kidnappers, criminals here and there. And we have law enforcement agencies. We have still government democratically elected. We have the people of Nigeria. We are not in a state of war, but we are in the midst of war. We are not in the state of war, we are in the midst of war. Now, when you look at the whole idea of compensation, especially looking at it to tackle these security challenges we have in our country, I do not think there will be any price too big to pay to solve these security challenges we are having in this country. So that maybe after some times again, instead of sleeping with one eye open, you start sleeping with two eyes closed. Now, the issue of compensation, the Longman Dictionary simply defines compensation as money paid to someone because they have suffered injury or loss, or because something they own has been damaged or destroyed. Now, most of the time, when you talk of compensation, the person responsible for the act comes in. For example, you may be compensated for injury at work. Then your employer will be responsible for that. Then sometimes you see somebody compensated by the government for damage caused to property. And sometimes those who are wrongly arrested will be compensated too. Now you may see some parents seeking compensation if there are birth defects from drugs, or the court can award compensation against a particular party. But now in this case, the idea of the government now trying to compensate is showing that yes, government is admitting that, oh, the matter is beyond us. We are losing control. And so when you are losing control, then you think of the easy way out. We have allegations of some of the security agencies being compromised, some collaborating with some bandits to commit some havoc. We have problem of corruption all over the place.
Right.
And so now, compensating the victim, the operating word is the victim, victims of farmers' headers clashes. Victims. Government cannot provide the security, which is their primary responsibility. So we are now having victims. And so
compensation is cool.
It's good.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Al-Haji.
Yes, thank you.
Emmanuel Aibogu, what do you feel about this? Because the first man that came to the show said he's not down with compensation. Al-Haji said it's okay to compensate these victims. What do you feel about all these arrangements?
Yes, as a patriotic Nigerian, Firstly, I want to talk from the view of failure on the part of government. Because you agree with me, before you can compensate people, those who are the offenders must have been seen to either have been punished or been seen to face the law. Today you see government promoting crime. And why I say promoting crime is this.
Promoting crime how? Because the government want to promote crime.
I'm coming, sir.
Yeah.
We are only talking to see how we can all render solutions to our problems. We are not here to winch out anybody or a group of people. Today, you agree with me that Fulani headers...
No, hold on now. You call them headsmen. We don't ascribe any tribe. These are headsmen.
Okay, headsmen, as the case may be, from the northern part of Nigeria, coming down to the eastern part of Nigeria, coming down to the western part of Nigeria, and to the southern part of Nigeria. The question to ask is this: how many westerners, how many easterners, and how many southerners are also moving to the northern part of Nigeria in search of agro-allied economic prospect, as the case may be? So when you look at it, even from the angle of the security agencies, a few days ago I was on social media when I saw the IRT boss Abakari leading men of his IRT team to the eastern part of Nigeria, where you have the IPOB members and their what they call this, their Eastern Security Network, to their various camps where they have it, and they were doing everything to dislodge them. To the point I saw Abakari in a commando-like manner, lying on the floor with AK-47, trying to take position to attack. And I asked, if this son of ours, who we see is a security expert, is so quick and prompt to move into the Eastern Security Network camp to dislodge them, what has also hindered him not to also go to where these bandits, these headers, because they move from one point to another, and government have the apparatus of intelligence to monitor their movement. Even if where they are in the thick forest, they move in numbers, in cattle and all that, so it is very easy to even use the satellite to monitor their movement. But the truth be said, government has played a high level of lackadaisical approach to this matter, because I believe that it is no longer news. We saw on the print and electronic media over the security summit that was done, where the chief officer in charge of the DSS also came out to say that so painful enough that majority of the weapons found with these headers are military and police
grade weapons.
Yeah, weapons. So when you see criminals using government instruments against government people, that should tell you that there is collusion. And when you look at it, do not forget when senior citizens like T.Y. Danjuma has come out to say that the military and the headers are colluding.
It was just an allegation, which was jettisoned.
He came out to say he's a senior statesman, and he's a member of the enlarged executive council of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's a senior stakeholder, he's a citizen, he's a tribesman in this country that we all know. So the truth be said, the more we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting another form of answer, amounts to failure. Government itself has not shown the political will to resolve these issues. I want to tell you, Mr. Wilson, you are wanting to compensate people because of llama, because of cow, and those who head these cows. The question to ask, what are you doing to the owners of these cows? How come this battle of farmers and headers have been going on for 3 years, and the federal government cannot come up with a clear-cut agenda on what to do to ensure that this crime is nipped on the bud? Today you hear they want to look for grazing reserves. Tomorrow you hear another government say that there is no land for grazing reserve. It's as if we have a state that is divided against itself.
All right.
So how can we move forward?
All right.
So to cut the long story short, compensation of headers it is not what the government should be seeing as.
No, but of farmers and headers clash. Not only headers, please. Let's get it clear.
Compensation on the farmers and the headers is not what government should be bringing on the table at a time like this. I tell you with all form of sincerity, what government is doing is to also engineer, because people are seeing the other vibe to say, okay, come, we are going to start up, you know, a crisis or a rustling, or the case may be, and at the end of the day, government will bring in compensation.
All right, I will come back to you on that, because I need Alhaji to react to your comment that if this is done, if there's compensation being made right now, others will be encouraged to go into causing trouble in the country, but not after we go on this break. We'll be right back. Do stay with us.
Well, yeah, brother, now, we're Botana. Marie Lema, you come over here. Now we carry down Roy. We butter in ye, and Mama, butter, and no one.
Oh, Padre, what is say, Yana, and I want me a more a miko or was it alawe? I got better Kinosalobuake yepa. I better Quawoku. Wa better Quawoku on your mere ban. They know a ban or a cara. I we are better a wa.
You back one. Every cannot tell you. You will never moda no lily. You will not make go be no so you go qua. Oh, lily in our back.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's all about compensation of victims of farmers' headers clash, and of course I'm having two contrasting opinions here in the studio by a legal practitioner and, of course, a human rights activist. From what Ibana said, Barrister Amin Alao, he said that compensation will give rise to other groups, you know, coming out to agitate to do something evil for them to gain that cognizance and, of course, get compensated in due course. What do you feel about that?
Thank you very much. If you are made up your mind to do an act that is good, that is godly, you go ahead and do it. For example, it's like saying, oh, the medical doctors are afraid that because of the security challenges now, most victims or most patients being brought to the hospital are armed robbers or bandits or kidnappers, so they will not treat anybody again. Doctors down too. We are not treating anybody again because you can see that some people are starting, you know, doctors will go on saving lives. It's better for you to save the life of a wrong person and equally save the life of a good person than leaving everybody to die. The same thing applies in law. The prosecution must prove the allegation beyond reasonable doubt, because the wisdom is that it is better to set free 10 offenders than to convict an innocent soul. Prophet Salam said in one tradition that when the harvest of the fruit of an orchard is damaged, then you should relieve the cultivator of his dues accordingly. You should not pay taxes again. Elsewhere he said that lighten the people's burden and do not add to them. Bring them hope and not chagrin. Work for unity and not discord. Now, all you can say now is that it should not be limited to the victims of farmers' headers clashes. We have fire victims, we have armed robbery victims, we have victims of rape, accident victims, victims of police brutality, victims of other law enforcement agent brutality, and so on and so forth. Because in an advanced country and in a civilized nation, for example, quote and unquote, a sick person is already a victim. The employer is, I'm asking for sick leave. Why should you give me leave? Well, he's sick. It's not fine. So we have victim. Victim is the operating word. And now to compensate them, so that at least the government, as we have said before, have already admitted that, oh, we are losing ground. You know, the attitude of some of our law enforcement agents, some of them, some, not all, leaves much to be desired. We are not just interested in the quantity of law enforcement agents, but the quality matters a lot. So that we have disciplined officers. We still have good officers in the force, in the police, in the army, all over. But we still have the bad eggs, of course. There must be the Judas. So you should expect that when you give arms to wrong hands, there will be abuse and misuse, and this will continue. So government is now coming in now. If there is collusion or collaboration between some of the bad ex-enforcement, they are giving AK-47 to bandits and to some headers, now we have to come in, let us compensate the victims. You see, the Good Samaritan that we talk about, as contained in Luke, chapter 10, verse 29 to 37. What happened? The Good Samaritan was going, and then a priest passed by an armed robbery victim who was attacked and beaten. The priest passed and went. Then another Levite came, he passed him and went. But when this Samaritan came, that's why he was a Jew, he treated him. Not only that, put him on his animal, put him in his car, now took him to an inn. And when he was about to leave, he gave 2 denarii to the owner of the inn. Please, take care of him with this money. Whatever you spend thereafter, when I come back, I'll pay you. How many of us now will see accident victim on the way and stop to pick?
All right.
Some will say, no, don't try to this Nigeria. So we are no longer playing our own roles. Right. We are neglecting our own responsibilities, and we expect everything to be done by government.
Okay, now you heard a barrister Abin Alao, who is also an Islamic scholar. He said, look, the essence of this is for at least to compensate, underline the word, victims. Whether the people will not go into doing whatever they want to do that is nefarious in nature, it doesn't really matter. He gave an example of doctors given a mandate to save lives, or the judges or lawyers doing their best to make sure that innocent victims are not in prison. Even if free guilty ones, as long as there's an innocent one that is freed, you are on course. Take it up from there, Emmanuel.
Yes, Mr. Wilson, it's so pathetic that we now see compensation as a solution to the crisis. However, some of us are heavily pained that Nigeria is deteriorating to this style of livelihood, where criminals now cause crisis for government to begin to spend revenue on paying victims. When we pay police officers millions of naira, we pay military officers millions of naira. In fact, the federal government has spent over 3 trillion on security architecture, as the case may be, cutting from police, DSS, civil defense. Government has pumped in billions of naira, trillions of naira. And to date, we are still talking about compensation. Even it has gotten to a point where now the headers and the bandits now even commit this havoc with government artillery. It is not coming from me, it is coming from the people in government. Now, when they put compensation, they throw it at us and say, go and argue. It shows that we are still in this era of joke. As a young man, I cannot believe that government will say compensation is the way forward. And to make it straight, if you compensate a farmer today, is that the end to the farmer headers crisis? The answer is no. See, our lawmakers ought to understand that the reason for their existence is to make law for people to coexist peacefully. What is the economic prospect to Nigeria over this open grazing? What does Nigeria gain to benefit economically to the sovereign treasury of this country if these headers are allowed to continue their grazing openly across people's farm and people's forest reserves, as the case may be? So these are the issues that should be on the burner. And why is it that our lawmakers are lackadaisical to ensure that they make laws to avert this menace? I expected the government to say that they were going to give the parliamentarians, an executive bill to pass to law to further prescribe this open grazing. Because you cannot say that because you want to feed cows, so therefore other people's economic source of livelihood should be put under threat. it is the highest level of backward reasoning. For me, I believe states in Nigeria, 36 of them, should do what is appropriate for their people to live peacefully. I do not see any reason why farmer must live all the way from Niger State to Okorion. Farmer must live all the way from Castina, Fulani headers. I don't want to be concerned with a tribe. Headers must leave the northern part of Nigeria from Castina, Kaduna, Sokoto to Okorion to rear cows. Today, if you go to smaller countries like Uganda and other neighboring African countries within the sub-region, they don't rear cows on the street anymore. They have all moved into ranching. So what stopped our government from making these requisite laws to further enhance the standard of livelihood?
All right.
You talk about compensation, sir. Are you compensating the families of the deceased in a village where father, mother, son, daughter were all slain? Who are you compensating? Is it the community that no longer exists? That bandits and headers have already burnt down villages? Are they the ones you want to compensate? Is that the reason why you think peace will come at the end of the day? And even when you compensate these people, would they still be happy to see farmers and headers on their land roaming around with these cattle? These are the issues.
All right.
These are the issues.
Okay, Emmanuel, you just Alaji, you heard him. He brought out some points in the mind of so many Nigerians. And after this compensation, some communities were sacked. Who are you going to compensate in those sacked communities after there's no border there? Family, according to him, also they are victims of the onslaught because of this clash. Who are you going to compensate? He talked about nipping the problem from the bud. Rather than talking about compensation, because according to him, it will make any difference.
Thank you very much. Both can go side by side. While the issue of compensation goes on, then other steps to be taken to solve the problem. Ranching laws can also go on. You shouldn't even appear as if Nigeria is a lawless country. You can see that some of the states have taken up the challenge, taking the drastic measures, some rightly, some wrongly, to ensure that things go well. And if you go against this issue of compensation, it appears you do not like the farmers or the victims, let me put it that way. Because it appears that the farmers appear to be mostly the victims from what we have been hearing.
But sorry to cut in. You of course continue. The first speaker talked about, according to him, his own speculation said they may be targeting to compensate the headers, because comparing one cow to a crop, the price will be like, the difference will be so high, the disparity in compensation will be so high. What are your views on this?
It is not whether you are a farmer or header that matters now. Victim. It is the victim that is to be compensated. If you are the header, you are the one armed with AK-47, entered my farm, destroyed my crops, and then raped my women and the rest of it. It is the farmer, not the header. Not the header to be compensated. Then when we now have instances of possibly the farmer too having enough power to deal with the herdsman or the header now, and possibly kill his cows or whatever, then that's where the header should now bring evidence too and say, see what happened to me. 10 of my cows, 20 were killed, whatever. So it is the victim we are talking about. And so if we say no to compensation, we are just saying no, that the plight of those who have suffered should not be ameliorated. That mostly the farmers, from the story we have been hearing. And so if you look at it, in fact, it should be the headers who should be saying no compensation, because they are having upper hand from what we have been hearing. You see, the step taken by Sheikh Gumi to confront some of these bandits and negotiate with them, interact with them, is a very positive step. And we expect most of our other leaders, our religious leaders, traditional rulers to take similar steps. Only that with the news we are hearing now, some may be afraid. Like this morning now, the headline we heard that the Katsina monarch and 13 others kidnapped.
They kidnapped by bandits.
Senator Musa said that killing for 7 years preceded the Kangara schoolboy's abduction. So this should not discourage a real man of God who is out to serve his people. If you die in cause of service to people, of course, Nigeria will actually applaud your services. So I think generally we should encourage the government to proceed with your compensation while steps are taken to also do other things.
All right, you heard Alaji, he laid down his points, saying forget about compensation. It's tantamount to, like, forgetting about the victims, underlying victims of the farmers' headers clash. Emmanuel.
Well, I'm of slightly different opinion because I do not believe that compensation is the sole solution and not even the near solution to the problem. See, the earlier we realize that a total eradication of this headers menace, very violent and anti-human, draconic menace we are being faced with today, the earlier we talk of solutions to totally eradicate them, the better for them, the better for us all. Compensation should not be seen as a tool to remedy what is going on. We're not talking of remedy. People go out with GPMG, General Multipurpose Machine Gun, to shoot at armless farmers. In numbers, you see some of them, they cut their eyes, cut their ears.
All right, we don't want to paint those gory pictures, please.
You see, my brother, in as much as we try as much as possible not to, say things the way they are, we should also try to advise ourselves the way the solutions will better come. I don't think in Nigeria it is cow that is of essence, protein meat that is of essence to human life. I started by saying this morning, is there any part in the northern part of Nigeria that you will just see southerners, easterners or westerners going into northern region to say they want to farm? Is there anywhere it's done like that? But these headers will just move in from the north, occupy the forest of southerners, easterners and westerners. To cut the long story short, if you see what happened in the western part of Nigeria since the outcome of this Sunday Boho, you have barely heard any clash between farmers and headers. So that tells you that government should now go back to the drawing board and encourage people to protect themselves. The truth here is this: people are being given superpower fire, force to terrorize these locals, and not until when we see it the way it is on the board, we are not going to get it right. To cut the long story short, sir, I want to plead with Nigerians. If we do not hold our leaders accountable this moment, the next calendar year might be too late.
How do we get corrected? Something, the issue of southerners not going to the north, we should drop it.
No, he said southerners going to north to destroy their farm.
You know what you see, because
yes. He said you've not seen a situation like that, and they carry cows.
Southerners, northerners, all Nigerians are all over the country. Doing their respective businesses, intermarriage. We are so interwoven that we should stop.
Not inside the forest and farms.
No, hold on now. He has the floor.
So we should stop. We should try to cut down this issue of tribalism and sectionalism, northern, southern, whatever. We are talking about headers. Whether it's a southern header or northern header, we're talking about farmers. Whether it's a southern farmer or northern farmer, we are all Nigerians, and that is my own opinion.
Now, all right, now apart from you making your own opinion, right now he talked about prevention before talking about the cure.
Yes.
Of that, it's going to be your last line, because you're going to have the last take on this discussion because our time is up. That giving compensation is like just giving that surface treatment that will get worse. Why not look for a way to prevent it from ever happening?
The issue of compensation that is just coming up is one of the steps. If you like, say it's one of the preventive steps too. That does not stop other steps from being taken. I earlier submitted on that earlier on. compensation should go on, then other steps that should be taken to ensure that this problem is named in the board completely solved. At least reduce to the barest minimum. We shouldn't say because we are compensating now, that is the end of the matter. No. Law should be made, okay, let's have ranches, this, whatever. You know, this goes on. But we should not rule out the issue of compensation because we have a lot of victims already.
Wow, we can just go on and on talking about this.
There's no data.
Data of what?
There's no data to people who have died. How do you, can any government, state government come out to tell you they have all the names of people who have died in their farms and the number of homes that have been destroyed? The answer is no. So we're only giving room for more corrupt practice. That's my take, sir.
On that, if you are talking about this compensation, nobody can actually be adequately compensated. For example, lives were lost, properties were destroyed. Government is only trying to give some little help.
But they said there's no data.
You see, for the issue of data,
Yes.
a committee will be set up, body will be set up to go find out the victims. And whoever is corrupt, accountable to your God. If you grab the word and go to hellfire, that's your cup of tea.
I mean, thank you so much, gentlemen. Our time is up. I know you might have so much to say about this, and I also have so much to say about it, but our time is up due to the gridlock on the way. That's why you guys came a little bit late. Not to worry, we have other time also to expatiate on this particular discussion. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. Well, whatever you heard them say is their opinions, their views. It has nothing to do with ITV. All right, we'll do our best possible to make sure the rules and regulations governing the airwaves. Compensation of the victims of farmers' headers clash. What do you feel about it? Bye for now.